Hi and welcome to Disruptive Innovation. My name is Elias. I'm a former airline pilot, and today we will be talking about 5 disruptive innovation platforms that will change the world as we know it. So today we will be looking at an investment firm based in the US called ARK Invest, which only focuses on disruptive innovation and companies that will change the world. Now they have on their website an article about this, and we'll go through this in detail. If you head on to ark-invest.com, you'll find this. So we'll start with looking at an overview about what ARK believes is disruptive. We'll move on to look at the history about disruptive innovative companies and innovations. We'll also look at the 3 criteria that they say is required for it to be disruptive. And lastly, we'll look at the 5 sectors specifically one by one. Let's start by looking at what ARK Invest believes is part of the future. What they're saying is that innovation should displace industry incumbents, increase efficiencies, and gain majority market share. While we believe that the threat to existing businesses is grave, the long-term opportunities for companies and investors participating in this change could be measured in trillions, and that's trillions with a T. So basically what they're trying to say is that you need to be on the right side of this change in order for you to be able to profit from it. Let's continue to have a look at what has happened in the past and the history of disruptive innovation. ARK is saying that in the late 19th century, 3 innovation platforms evolved at the same time and changed the way the world worked. Thanks to the introduction of the telephone, automobile, and electricity, the world's productivity exploded as costs dropped, unleashing demand across sectors. Today, we believe that the global economy is undergoing the largest technological transformation in history, thanks to 5 innovation platforms evolving at the same time. The last sentence is really important. At the same time. This has never happened before in the history, but it is happening right now, and we need to do something about that. So let's have a look at this graph. This is really interesting. It goes back all the way back to the 17th century. Initially we had the steam engine, later came the railways, and then we had the internal combustion engine. And over here at the 19th century, something happened. We had the telephone, automobile, and electricity that came all at the same time, or at least within 10 years. So as you can see, the curve almost climbed vertically here. So the ones that were able to invest in these 3 sectors and the companies that were involved in these sectors made a lot of money. That's what we're trying to do. We want to identify, analyze, and invest in companies that are going to be part of the future. If you want to be part of that, we have a community for it. It's our Discord server. The way you get access to that is that you head on to Patreon. There is a link in the description below. Over there you will be able to enter at a membership level that suits you, and you will have direct access to our community. So if you continue to look at this, nothing really happened for another 60 years or so until the 1980s, where we had the computers and internet. And at the moment we are somewhere around here at the bottom of a curve which is going absolutely vertical. So what is happening over here? Within the next 5 to 10 years, ARK believes that we will have 5 sectors that are going to merge at the same time. Those are energy storage, artificial intelligence, robotics, genome sequencing, and blockchain technology. And we'll go through each and every one separately shortly. But before we look at each of the sectors individually, we need to understand what the criteria are for a company or innovation to be disruptive. ARK identifies 3 criteria that need to be present for it to be disruptive. The first thing is that it needs to have a cost decline, which is rapid. The second thing is that it needs to cross different sectors and different geographies. And the last thing is that it needs to be able to serve as a platform for other innovation. Now, when it comes to cost declines, ARK is saying that when a technology crosses certain cost or performance thresholds, its addressable market can widen and diversify dramatically. ARK uses Wright's law to better understand the potential scope of a transformative technology. And you can see this if you look at the graph over here on the right. It's basically saying that as the demand picks up, the cost drops rapidly. And the reason for this is because when there is competition, companies are forced to improve their technology and to become innovative. And that is going to drive the cost down. Moving on to the second criteria, ARC is saying that a technology that cuts across industries and geographies can enjoy dramatic increase in addressable markets as applications are discovered by different business sectors. Spanning across sectors also provides better product market fits, insulates against business cycle risks, and garners attention from multiple disciplines. Basically, what they're trying to say is that when you have a product or service that is not limited to a certain sector or a certain part of the world, then that is going to be more disruptive than a company which is only limited to a certain sector. For instance, if you solve the battery problem, then you will be able to solve a lot of different problems which evolves around the batteries. If you come up with the battery which is twice as good and charges twice as fast, then that's going to solve a lot of different issues. The third and last criteria that ARC is identifying is that it needs to serve as a platform for additional innovation. That means that a technology upon which other innovation can be built may expand its use cases in ways that are almost impossible to imagine. As a result, innovation platforms may be underestimated over expensive time horizons because successful forecasts require anticipation of the scope of a new product and services. And you can see this is the example that I was talking about. We have a battery over here which is being used in multiple different areas and different products. If you solve that, then you will solve a lot of different issues. So we've spoken about the overview about what ARC believes is disruptive. We also had a look at the history and what has happened in the past. We mentioned the three criteria that ARC believes needs to be present in order for it to be disruptive. And the last thing we need to do now is that we need to have a look at the 5 different sectors individually. The first one is artificial intelligence. ARC is saying that we believe that artificial intelligence, or AI, learning systems will transform not only retail, media, and telecom, as did the internet, but all sectors in the economy, even those previously thought impervious to disruption, notably healthcare and financial services. The underlying technologies include neural networks, mobile connected devices, cloud computing, streaming, and Internet of Things. And if you think about it, artificial intelligence is quite controversial. There is a lot to be said about that, but one thing is for sure, it needs to be regulated pretty strictly so that it doesn't get in the hands of people who are going to use it in the wrong way. But it is a technology that definitely crosses multiple sectors and geographies. It's not tied to a specific place or sector, and it definitely solves other issues that other products or services have. So it absolutely qualifies for the 3 criteria that we mentioned previously. The second platform which ARC is identifying is energy storage. They're saying that declining battery cost should cause an explosion in mobile form factors. These innovations should increase the demand for electric energy, displacing fossil fuels and reducing not only the vulnerability of grids, but also operating expenses and the capital intensity of transmissions and distributions. The underlying technologies include battery systems, electric vehicles, and autonomous mobility. Now, when talking about energy storage, you also have to mention solar panels and solar systems in general. There's 2 deficiencies that solar panels have. The one thing is they're still pretty expensive. We haven't seen a dramatic cost decline yet, but we will within the next 5 years. The second thing is that the sun is not always up, meaning that you're not always being able to produce energy, and especially not when you have to use it. So that is where the energy storage comes in, and batteries in particular. If you are able to store the energy that you are producing during daytime in order to use it during nighttime, then you have solved that equation. Likewise, if you are able to generate enough electricity in the summer and store it in batteries or other solutions so that you can use it in the winter, then that is a win-win solution. The third platform that ARC has identified is robotics. What they're saying is that advances in software and sensors should enable robots to operate alongside humans in all sorts of environments. If their unit cost declines by more than 50%, while their capabilities increase, as we anticipate will be the case, robots should transform every business and depends upon physical processes and workflows. The underlying technologies include adaptive robotics, 3D printing, drones, and reusable rockets. Now, this is a big sector as well. If you think about shipping, for instance, if you take a company like Amazon, for example, they could really benefit from drones, for example, improving. If they were able to start to deliver their parcels and boxes by using drones in certain restricted areas where they can fly, then that is going to be a game changer. Likewise, there are currently companies, for instance in Germany, which are using huge 3D printing machines to build buildings that people can live in. That is going to be a game changer. It's going to decrease the amount of time that is needed to build a complex building, and it's going to create really good opportunities to be able to create custom-made houses. The next sector, and probably the biggest one, is going to be DNA sequencing or genome editing. What ARC is saying is, as the cost to sequence a whole human genome falls precipitously, DNA sequencing, a test once limited to the research lab, should see widespread clinical adoption and a 100-fold increase in volumes, transforming healthcare completely. Underlying technologies include sequencing technology, genome editing, i.e. CRISPR, and immunotherapies. Now, this is a very controversial topic. There's a lot to be said about this, but one thing is a fact, and that is that if we are able to solve some diseases and problems that are limited to a single gene, then that is always going to be a win. Again, if it gets in the hands of the wrong people, then obviously it can become a bad thing, but we need to regulate it properly so that we can really benefit from this technology. And the last thing is blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. ARC is saying that with blockchain technology, we believe that more of everything in the world will become money-like, fungible, liquid, and quantified. Every corporation and customer will likely have to adapt, calling into question the very structure of a corporation. The underlying technologies include blockchain, fintech, and frictionless value transfer. Now, we have seen this in the last 6 months or so. For instance, Bitcoin has really rallied. It's now up at more than $55,000 per Bitcoin. And the reason for this is because people are trying to diversify their portfolio and trying to spread the risk. People believe that the market might go down, and this is a way for them to hedge against that. So we've talked about how ARK Invest looks at the future. We've also had a look at the history of what has happened in the past. We've looked at the 3 different criteria that need to be present for it to be disruptive, and we've also looked at the 5 individual disruptive platforms that will be part of the future. So what you now need to do is you need to stay on the right side of this curve. You need to start to invest in companies that you believe will be part of this so that you can profit from it. We are looking at the next Teslas, Amazon, Google, and so on, so that we can hopefully in the future become financially independent. You can either do it on your own, or you can become part of a community where we do this together. The bigger we grow, the better it's going to be. If you're interested, there is information in the description below on how you can enter our Discord server via our Patreon page, and we'll see you over there. If you like the content, please consider to like and subscribe, and if you want more, we have a video on a possible stock market crash in 2021, as well as a stock market investment for beginners. With that said, thank you very much for watching, and remember to always invest in the future.